Hi, everyone. Welcome to our staff picks show. It is October, so why wouldn't we focus on Halloween? My name is Devon. I work at the Worcester Public Library.
And I'm Joy, and I also work at the Worcester Public Library. What a coincidence.
And we both love Halloween, so we're going to bring some really cool fiction and nonfiction spooky titles your way. Pretty much everything's available in print and online in some version or another. So just keep your eyes on the screen and you'll see which formats are available. So now I'm going to switch screens so you can see what we have lined up for you. All right, as usual, I'll be focusing on the fiction and Joy will do the nonfiction. Okay, and for my first choice, I have The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. This one came out in February of 2021. This book is for fans of authors Gillian Flynn and Tana French, and people who enjoyed the movie The Wicker Man. Author Harlan Coben says C.J. Tudor is terrific, and he can't wait to see what she does next. In the book, a dark history lingers in Chapelcroft. 500 years ago, Protestant martyrs were betrayed and burned. 30 years ago, 2 teenage girls disappeared without a trace. And a few weeks ago, the vicar of the parish hanged himself in the church. Reverend Jack Brooks, a single parent with a teenage daughter and a heavy conscience, arrives in the village hoping for a fresh start. Instead, Jack finds a town rife with secrets, and he's given an exorcism kit with a note that warns, but there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed and hidden that will not be known. The more Jack and his daughter Flo explore the town, the deeper they are drawn into age-old rifts, mysteries, and suspicions. And when Flo begins to see specters of girls ablaze, it becomes apparent there are ghosts that refuse to be laid to rest. People are saying this book is chilling suspense meets folk horror. Jack Brooks is described as an unconventional vicar who swears, smokes cigarettes, and talks about the imperfections of faith. His daughter Flo is inquisitive, courageous, and loves Stephen King novels. The Burning Girls got starred reviews from Publishers Weekly and Booklist, and was considered to be one of the most anticipated books of the year by Crime Reads. Publishers Weekly said, "Rarely have the secrets of an English village been used to greater effect than in this suspenseful mystery from Thriller Award winner Tudor. Tudor expertly doles out the plot twists, one so shocking that it turns the story inside out. Jack, Flo, the other characters, and their eventual fates won't be easily forgotten by any reader." So I have to admit, I'm a huge fan of the old movie, The Wicker Man, not the newer one with Nicolas Cage. And it does sort of sound like it falls in that genre. So I am very interested in this one. Here's a book from Joy.
I've read the book. It's very good. And I also love The Old Wicker Man.
Yay.
So my first choice for this month is Ghosts, a Natural History, 500 Years of Searching for Proof by Roger Clark. I think that it can be safely said that most lovers of the supernatural, myself included, devour stories featuring vampires, werewolves, and zombies. But we don't necessarily believe in them. Ghosts, however, are another bucket of ectoplasm. I suggest that among any group of 5 people, you'll find one who has seen a ghost, one who has a close friend who has seen one, 2 who would dearly love to see one but have not, and just one hardened skeptic. What is it about ghosts that fascinates us so? Do we long for the presence of a departed loved one, desire proof of the existence of life after death, or do we simply want to be scared out of our minds? These are among the questions posed by author Roger Clark, veteran ghost hunter and youngest member ever of England's renowned Society of Psychical Research. In his work, Ghosts: A Natural History, Clark allows that ghosts have been present in all times and places, but where, how, when, and to whom they appear depends on cultural, socioeconomic, religious, and even technological context. Clark's specialty is the English literary ghost story, which he claims is one of Britain's great gifts to the world. His style is wry, dry, and in the words of one reviewer, a bit sedate. But he tells many of what writer Patrick McGrath calls, quote, gloriously weird tales with great verve. In Ghosts: A Natural History, you'll find a ghost to suit every taste, nighttime or daytime, rural or urban, noisy or quiet. You'll find ghosts attired in white and those who prefer black, ghosts who inhabit graveyards and those who haunt our electronic devices, ghost armies in the sky and ghost navies under the sea, and you'll find any number of slightly shady mediums eager to channel them all. Take your pick, fellow reader. As befits a conscientious and meticulous ghost hunter, Clark admits that 500 years and more of searching have not provided definitive proof that ghosts either do or do not exist. But skeptic though he may be, he leaves just enough wiggle room to please ghost lovers like me.
It sounds like a good one. 500 years is a lot of history to compile.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's my next one that I'm super excited about, The Return by Rachel Harrison. So I read this book and recommended it to Joy. We both loved it. We recommended it to another coworker and she loved it and recommended it to her mom, who also loved it. So you're one of those people who likes word of mouth recommendations, consider this one of those. So this book came out in March of 2020. Some describe this book as Sex and the City meets Stephen King's The Shining. So it's of course recommended for fans of Stephen King, as well as fans of C.J. Tudor, who I was just speaking about, and also author Alma Katsu. When Julie goes missing while hiking in Acadia National Park, no one believes she will return, except Elise. Elise knows Julie better than anyone and feels her best friend is out there and that one day she'll come back. She's right. 2 years to the day that she went missing, Julie reappears with no memory of where she's been or what happened. Along with Molly and May, their two close friends, these women decide to reunite at a remote inn in the Catskills. But the second Elise sees Julie, she knows something is wrong. She's emaciated, has sallow skin, spits out her teeth, and the once vegetarian seems to only want meat. And as the weekend unfurls, it's impossible to deny that the Julie who vanished 2 years ago is not the same Julie who came back. When Elise calls Julie's husband to find out what happened, he admits to her, "I lock my door at night. I lock my door. I'm scared of what she is." This book was nominated for the Bram Stoker Award in the category of Best First Novel. It got a starred review from Publishers Weekly, and people describe their return as a book full of low, visceral dread that builds to a shocking crescendo. Author Simone St. James said the book is by turns scary and funny, horrifying and real. The return is impossible to put down. It takes an honest, scathing look at female friendship, while at the same time pulling the reader into a perfect nightmare of a story. I don't get affected like this often, but this was one of those books where if I heard a weird noise at night and it sounded like it was coming from the wall, I was sure it was the monster from the So if you like getting a little bit of the heebie-jeebies around Halloween, you might want to give this one a try.
Yeah, that book is genuinely scary.
Yes.
My next choice for this month is The Haunting of Alma Fielding, a true ghost story by Edgar Award-winning true crime writer Kate Summerscale. At first glance, Alma Fielding was an ordinary British housewife. She lived in a nice house in a working class suburb of London with her husband, her son, and a boarder named George, and she had stuff, lots of stuff. We know that she had lots of stuff because in August of 1938, all hell broke loose when her household goods attacked her and her family. What do you do when your soap dish follows you down the stairs? Teacups hurl themselves across the room, and crockery is smashed left and right by some malevolent unseen force. Call the police? What are they going to do, arrest the good china? No, you call the press. After all, circulation-hungry newspapers could be counted on to grab hold of a good story, particularly one guaranteed to distract the public from the looming threat of war with Germany. Enter Nandor Fodor, Hungarian Jewish ghost hunter and skeptic, who begins an exhaustive investigation into the phenomena afflicting Alma. From then on, the story, which at first seems a bit funny, maybe even ridiculous, gets weirder and weirder and darker and darker. Who is Alma Fielding? The victim of supernatural forces? A brilliant fraud? Or a frustrated, trauma-ridden woman whose internal sufferings are projected externally in the form of a sometimes playful, sometimes destructive poltergeist? Maybe she's a bit of all three. Fodor is determined to dig deep into the mystery that is Alma Fielding and discover the truth of her experiences. After all, he needs to retain a good reputation in Britain or risk being sent back to Hungary, which is not the best option for a Jew in 1938. But does his obsession with the case threaten what remains of Alma's sanity? And is the ghost hunter himself more harmful than the ghosts that haunt her? In the end, the haunting of Alma Fielding is less a ghost story, unless you count the ghosts that populate Alma's past, than the tale of a powerful dynamic between two people who desperately need one another. Kate Summerscale's previous works have been lauded by the likes of John le Carré, Lev Grossman, and P.D. James. The Haunting of Alma Fielding has received rave reviews from Hilary Mantel and Sarah Walters and Philippa Gregory. The Guardian says Summerscale has achieved the perfect balance between her central story and its cultural context, and calls The Haunting of Alma Fielding a terrific ghost story. No, fellow lovers of the supernatural, you will probably not be frightened by Alma Fielding and the forces that possess her, but trust me, her story will haunt you.
I've never heard of this story before, but I'm not sure what I would do if my soap dish started following me around.
Yeah.
All right, here's my last one for this episode, The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This one came out over the summer in July. It was considered to be a can't-miss summer read by the New York Times, Oprah, Lit Hub, Book Riot, Pop Sugar, and a ton of other reviewers. From chainsaws to summer camp slayers, the Final Girl Support Group pays tribute to and subverts our most popular horror films. Movies like Friday the 13th, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream. Lynette Tarkington is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre. For 16 years, she's been meeting with 5 other final girls, all of whom have reached middle age, and their therapist, and a support group for those who survived the unthinkable and are working to put their lives back together. In this book, we see how the lives of the final girls have been irrevocably changed by their encounters with their respective killers. We understand exactly how damaging these ordeals are. And when one woman misses a meeting, their worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to rip their lives apart again. But the thing about final girls is that no matter how bad the odds, how dark the night, how sharp the knife, they will never give up. People say that the author's use of narrative tools like a laconic cowboy lawman, an overly eager journalist, and a host of archetypal serial killers heightens the story's unease. This book got a starred review from Publishers Weekly. Author David Wong said, "The Final Girl support group is perfect for anyone who loves old slasher movies and anyone who hates them." Hendricks has somehow crafted both an homage to B-horror schlock and a clever dissection of the genre, all delivered in the form of one breathless chase, punctuated by unpredictable twists and thoughtful insight. Even though I like horror, I have to say I was never a slasher film fan, but I like that this book takes a look at what happens to the girls after the story and gives them back their humanity that necessarily wasn't in the slasher films. So I do think this sounds interesting, and I'm going to be reading it, hopefully in October. Here's one from Joy.
Actually, I may as well. And I don't like slasher films. So my final choice is The Twilight Man, Rod Serling and the Birth of Television by Israeli writer Koren Shadmi. You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas you've just crossed over into
the Twilight Zone.
Yay! These words, taken from the introduction to the 4th season of The Twilight Zone, were narrated each week by the series creator, Rod Serling, against the backdrop of a little tune written by master composer Bernard Herrmann. Come on, even those of you who have never actually seen The Twilight Zone, know that when you hear do 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 do, something spooky this way comes. Over 60 years have passed since the last episode aired in prime time, but millions of people, author and artist Koren Shadmi among them, remain passionate Twilight Zone and Rod Serling fans. In Twilight Man, Shadmi asks, who was Rod Serling, the man in the gray suit, smoking like there was no tomorrow, his voice tightly wound like a tripwire? He goes on to say, a deep existential anxiety runs at the core of the Twilight Zone, and it conveys some deep truth about its creator. Indeed, Serling was a driven man who fought hard to become a paratrooper in World War II, despite the fact that he was initially rejected for being too short. Serling's wartime experience was predictably nightmarish. He lost many, if not most, of his brothers in arms and suffered from night terrors for the rest of his life. But he returned from battle to an America that didn't want to hear it. An America transformed into a booming, rich, and confident superpower. A daydream, Shadmi says, of gleaming chrome and bright white smiles. But underneath the perfect veneer lay strange monsters quivering with fear and anger. Serling was able to see these monsters walking in broad daylight, then capture and pin them down on paper. The Twilight Zone ran for 5 seasons from 1959 to 1964 and consisted of 135 episodes, all of which I own, by the way, on VHS. Not all of them are scary, but all of them offer a glimpse into the strange, the weird, the uncanny. However, Serling, a committed humanist, wanted to do more than entertain his viewers. He wanted to use the new medium of television to explore the social and moral issues of his day, and at the same time evade skittish sponsors by presenting his stories as, hey, harmless little fantasies. He enlisted brilliant writers, including Charles Beaumont, Richard Matheson, and Ray Bradbury, to contribute taut, meaning-filled scripts, and selected a host of talented actors eager to take advantage of the intensity and intimacy that the small screen affords. The results, over 60 years on, speak for themselves. PW calls Twilight Man a sharp biography that mimics Serling's mordant wit without descending into parody, and says that Shadmi's art, remember this is a graphic novel, evokes the show's signature hard lines and stark framing. Reviewers agree that Chodemy captures the essence of this complicated man who lived and worked too hard and died young. Oh, and like every episode of The Twilight Zone, Twilight Man ends with an unexpected and delicious twist.
Well, I love Twilight Zone and Rod Serling, but I would like to take this opportunity to say that the library does not endorse smoking cigarettes like there's no tomorrow.
I think everyone knows that.
It's really hard to find a photo of him without a cigarette.
No, you can't because he smoked 24/7. But I still love the guy.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to the end of our episode for today. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give us some likes and loves if you've enjoyed our show, and share this with all your friends who are looking for spooky Halloween reads. Thanks for watching.
See you later, fellow readers.